that you allow this liquid to be the catalyst to absorb all the energy and all the good times and all the amazing adventures that we've gone through, and this bolly has been at the center of those adventures. I ask that you transfer that energy now to our new bolly, along with our crystal that maintains the peace and tranquility of its energy. On this episode of Learn As You Gothi, we're going to talk about transferring of energy from one ritual item to another ritual item. Coming up. I always say you don't really need any ritual items to go out and do a ritual. But I think that if you're going to be the leader of a kindred, if you're going to be the Gothi, and you're going to be doing rituals for other people like asavatnis and hand fastings and naming ceremonies and just general rituals to thank the gods, the ancestors, the whites, if you want to do those rituals, I think that anybody who does them in any kind of a consistent basis is going to eventually find that they're going to need a bowl. Now, I think the bare minimum to do any kind of a ritual is always going to be a bolly and an oath ring. At least if we look back at the sagas, we see that the bolly was always used to spread the sacrament or the blood, and the oath ring was always available for anyone that needed to swear an oath, have a testimony or a trial, or anything like that, any of those other duties that a Gothi might oversee. So I think a bare minimum would be to have a good bolly. But I don't want you to hold on to the very end of your life and never have a good bolly because you're always waiting for the next best one. Start where you're at and then transfer that energy moving forward like we're about to do here. I think as humans, we have a tendency to kind of get comfortable in our space, get comfortable with our friend group, get comfortable with our stuff, and just kind of get comfortable and get a little bit of afraid of change. So when I first started on my path in asatru was real early in the 90s, 93, 94 time frame. And the very first ritual I'd ever done, I talked about it before, was a bloat, just an open bloat to the Norse gods, or maybe to Odin. And it was in the middle of the desert, and the tool that I had was a single canteen cup. That's what I used as a bloat bowl. Now, over the years, I've upgraded from canteen cup to the next thing, to the next thing. Now, had I been really sentimental, I would still be using that canteen cup. But instead, I found that I needed, for me personally, a way to transfer the energy from one item to the next. And therefore, every bowl that I've used since then has had that energy transferred from one stage to the next, up to the current bolly, which is probably the only one that you've really seen in use here at Northwoods Kindred, because it's been in use for this kindred since its foundation and many years before that. So this has been my current bolly for a long time. But it's always had a couple of things that I didn't really like, and I wished I could have changed. For one, the rim it's a little small, I think, as far as the size goes for large groups that we do. But the edge right here always seemed incomplete because it was just kind of open and rolled. And then I never liked this little pedestal that was hammered into the bottom. But it's such a beautiful, gorgeous bolly, and it fit our criteria so well that I never thought that I would ever need to replace it. And I was perfectly happy to accept this bolly for my forever bolly. Now fast forward to today, and I had an opportunity to acquire a new bolly of the same size and materials, but it has the other things that I want. It's got a flat bottom without the ridge. It has the completed edge. But now the question is, am I so sentimental that I don't want to transfer the energy from the old one to the new one? Or do I transfer the energy and then move forward with the bigger and better bowl? I think you know the answer to this. I'm going to move forward with a bigger and better bowl. And I'm going to show you how we move the energy from one object to the other. And this one has essentially got that same energy, if you believe in it, all the way back to the very first bolly that I ever did a ritual with. Transferred all the way forward to this one when we finish this particular ritual. So one thing that I've always done is I keep a crystal inside my bolly to keep kind of the positive energy neutral and also make this sort of a receiver for good intentions. So whenever it's stored, it always has a crystal. So with that, this crystal would be, I guess, energetically synced to my old bowl. So once we consecrate and dedicate the new bowl, this crystal will now live in the new bowl. But don't think for a minute that I will ever be getting rid of this one. See, our goals in the future would be to have a hearth. at Northwoods Kindred Hop, where people can come and celebrate and get a hand fasting and do asavatnis and all the other great things that our community needs. So one day when we have our own Hof, then this will be the Hof Bolli, consistent with the lore or with the history, with a bolly generally made of copper. Because if I never had this one, if I never had this bolly, I never would have found this bolly, right? One led into the other. If I didn't have that bolly, this one never would have appeared to me. It never would have come into my periphery or into my vision. And now look where we're at. This has literally got everything I've ever wanted in a bolly. Everything. It's the right size, it's the right shape, it's the right material. It's got the 3 Norns that I fell in love with off our old bolly. It's perfect. Will it be my last one? I would say yes, but I can't say that with any kind of confidence because I thought this was my last one. We shall see. On this day, at the event horizon of a major storm, as the weather's moving in and the spirits and animals are taking their hiding places, I ask that you come out and whichever spirit governs the transfer of energy, I ask that you join me here now as I attempt to transfer all the love and kinship and good times and ceremony and important life events and rituals that have gone into this bolly over the years, that we transfer that energy to the new bolly. I ask you to accept this mead, brewed here at Italy with love and kinship by myself and my kinsmen. That you allow this liquid to be the catalyst, to absorb all the energy and all the good times and all the amazing adventures that we've gone through, and this bolly has been at the center of those adventures. I ask that you transfer that energy now to our new bolly, along with our crystal that maintains the peace and tranquility of its energy. And with this mead, and this energy is transferred to the new bolly, although it still remains in the old one. We have a use for you. You will forever be honored. And we have grand plans for you in the future. But from this point forward, we have a new bolly for the Northwoods Kindred. Hail the gods. I hope that you enjoyed that. I know the name of this series is Learn As You Gothi, but another thing that can be said, that can be factually said, is make it up as you Gothi as well. Because there's no historical precedence for any of this. It's just an energetic feeling, and if you feel like this is a necessary step, then take the step, and if you don't, then don't. We're not trying to tell you that this is the way to do it or anything, but this is the way that we do it here in the Northwoods, and it always seems to work for us. Now the energy from my very first bowl ever, 30 years ago, is still transferred forward and carried on to this new bowl that will go with us well into the future. Will it be our last? I don't really know. I can't say. But I can tell you one thing, I will not get sentimental about it. I will just make sure that the energy that's here moves forward with us as we grow into a new place and new materials and new beginnings. Thor Vigi, my friends.
I spend most of my time viewing what I want from the outside. I comb it over like it's the scene of a crime. staring back at me in the mirror at night, stuck in place, just waiting for a green light. But I can't lie, wait for someone else to say I can live my the only